Steel Curtain Network.
¡Por Jorgito! ¡Go down! Najee Harris! DJ Watt!
What's up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Preview. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined as always by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis as we prepare you for the upcoming game. In this case, a Week 3 matchup between two 2-0 teams at Acrisure Stadium, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the other Harbaugh, the other Wang Harbaugh coming to town. Dave, what's going on, man?
Oh, not much, Jeff. I'm just getting excited for this weekend. Getting excited to see you doing some live tweeting tomorrow. Just gonna have a lot to look forward to.
You're starting the show with this, are you? Okay.
Oh no, I'm just saying that I'm happy and in a good mood.
Hey, if you want to plug it, you can, or we can wait. It's up to you.
No, we can wait.
Okay, we'll wait. Bryan Davis, what's going on?
Not too much, fellas. I'm so glad to be here. But isn't it supposed to be knob harbs? I thought we established that a couple years ago.
It sounds like you're in an elevator shaft, Bryan, so you might want to check your mic settings there.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, very good. So we are getting ready for this upcoming game. What's up?
Yeah, Dave? Bryan said knob harbs. I always just wanted to go with Big Wang and Little Wang. That's just me.
All right, so we got a lot to cover in this show. We have a lot of news. We're going to talk about the injury reports, storylines, players to watch, matchups, stuff like that. And then, of course, after our break in the midpoint of the show, we're going to have the over-under game. We're going to reminisce a little bit about Steelers and Chargers, and we'll definitely do trivia at the very end with our predictions in there as well. Let's start off. I want to get right to the injury report because I think that is where everything's going to stem from in terms of our discussion on news. There hasn't been a lot of news this week with the Steelers. They shuffled their practice squad a bunch. James Pierre came back. Ben Skoranek, I think, went on injured reserve. So did Tyler Matakevich. So let's just start with the injury report, Dave. Let's get it right out of the way, and then we'll touch on everything as we go. So go ahead with the Steelers.
Yes, well, it was actually a pretty good report today. There was only 3 players who didn't practice, but one of them was just the typical Thursday rest day for Cam Hayward. So only 2 players missed due to injury. That was guard Isaac Seumalo, still out with his pectoral. I thought anyone who thought he was going to maybe play this week, I thought that was a little early. Week 3, I mean, it wouldn't have been to week 5 if he went on IR. So he still has a possibility to get back and have it still be worthwhile. And the other one was Michael Pruitt, tight end, did not play with his knee injury. I know a lot of people thought, well, as soon as they whenever they signed Rodney Williams to the 53-man roster, that it meant that Pruitt was out this week. Didn't necessarily mean that, because those were all special teams moves. And we know that Hot Rod is a very good special teams player. But it also meant that in case Pruitt couldn't go, they would still have him. And now after 2 days of seeing the injury report, that's looking to be a little bit more likely. To hit the rest of them, the only limited participant was once again Russell Wilson. The fact that he's still limited, that kind of tells us a lot that he's likely going to be that third quarterback again. But Roman Wilson was a full participant. But the other thing that's interesting with him is he was a full participant on Thursday last week and then went back to limited on Friday. So we'll have to see if that's a change. And then everyone else was not injury related, who had gotten some rest the day before. That was Najee Harris, TJ Watt, Larry Ogunjobi, who they missed part or all of practice on Wednesday. They were all back full on Thursday.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was hoping to see Isaac Seumalo at least listed as limited at some point this week. I had no thought that he would play this week. And I saw some video on Twitter that he was doing some stretching and some warming up with the team. So I was like, shoot, maybe they're going to have him as limited. He's still a DNP. So that's interesting to me.
That's a good question that you bring up, Jeff. At what point would you call it limited? He was out there a little bit. I think the final day last week, he was at least in his uniform. Now we're seeing him stretching some. How much do you have to participate to even be limited? That's a really good point. So he is progressing. Yeah. It just still hasn't changed on the status, if that's all you're looking at.
All right, Bryan, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you see this injury report?
I didn't think it was that bad. The one thing that I saw is Michael Pruitt was a thing for me, because if he can't go, because they mentioned him earlier on in the week, he's been one of those really good role players for the Steelers. But as Dave said, with Rodney Williams, at least you know that Hot Rod can play and he can be in there. The Sayamalu thing, it was it would have been nice, but nobody's expecting it, because it's getting back to the original 4 to 8 weeks. And so we're seeing something a little bit like that. I am pleased that the Steelers need Big Isaac back, but really love what Spencer Anderson has done in his stead. So that's something good to know. Roman Wilson's the one for me that if you can get that little bit of spark, that would be great. I'm hearing reports. I was listening to different shows all around, not on our network, but on our network, but not from Steel Curtain Network. And I was listening and I heard some people suggest that, go out and get Devontae Adams. They're not trading Devontae Adams. The Seahawks are not trading Tyler Lockett. It's not easy to go out and get somebody at this point.
Yeah. Dave, just out of curiosity, I'll give you my input in a second. Do you think Roman Wilson will make his debut this Sunday?
That's a good question. I think it's a little bit more likely because the Steelers have done it in a way now that they have a spot for him as a fifth wide receiver. I don't know if they would bring up someone from the practice squad or not now with Skoranek on IR, because he really was about special teams. And they kind of covered that maybe a little bit well, but Tyler Mitakevich out too. It really comes down to Friday, because like I said, he was a full participant last Thursday and then went back to limited on Friday.
Yeah.
It would be neat to see him go up against his old college coach for his first game, but we've honestly, to me, it's 50-50, and really we'll see more tomorrow.
So follow up quickly before I give Bryan a chance to answer the same questions, Dave. If he plays, do you think he will actually make a significant impact?
That's a good question, because it almost seems like they're holding him out to not play him until they think he can make a significant impact. Sure. I mean, think of how the Steelers handled Martavis Bryant. He didn't play until week 4 or 5, or what. Bryan will know exactly when, his rookie year, because I remember being there and watching him, warming up on the sidelines but not being active whenever he was a rookie. So I could see it either way. Even when he does, I don't think it would hurt to start him now, because I don't know that they should, throw him into the mix in a huge way. And it would be nice to ease him in some, but I really don't know what the thinking is. It was a high ankle sprain, right? Those things are nasty to get back from. Yeah. And if you're not fully recovered, it could be something that affects him all season.
True. All right, Bryan, what do you think about Roman Wilson?
Well, I think he actually should play. If he's going to make a significant impact, I think he's eased in. To answer Dave's question, that was week 7 back in 2014. He was a little different of a story because
he was really raw.
He was raw. He was first round talent, but not first offense talent.
Yeah.
And that was the big problem. So as far as that goes, I think Roman Wilson is more of a character guy. And I have a feeling that when he's there, he's the kind of guy that is a student of the game and he's studying. And I can see him catch maybe 3 balls at the most, and that would be a huge victory for this team, because not a lot of receivers have caught balls for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when I'm looking at this from the 50-yard line and blimp eye view, I'm looking at this and seeing that if anybody's going to be elevated, it's going to be the tight ends more. You're going to see more balls to Freiermuth at home, more balls to Darnell Washington. I think once that he broke the seal there's no turning back. So I think that they're going to go ahead and try to force him on defenses, because here's the thing. With as big as he is, and if you get him matched up against a 5'11" slot corner or even a 6-foot corner, it is still a big advantage for the Steelers. So I could see them trying to force some things more now that they have more trust in Darnell Washington after one game. And speaking of Darnell Washington, real quick, I saw him mic'd up this week. And boy, what a fantastic demeanor he had when he like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He was so happy that he caught that first ball in the red zone. And when you saw him walking off the field next to guys, it was like watching Davy and Goliath, but you're actually rooting for Goliath.
All right. For me, going back to Roman Wilson, I think that they need him as much in the run game as they do in the pass game. If there's one thing that Roman Wilson has done and done well in his time in Michigan, it was he's a willing blocker. He's someone he's not big, but he's not scared to get dirty and do the absolute get your nose in there and mix it up with the corners and even some linebackers if necessary, safeties. I think if he's healthy enough to play, I think they use him as much as they feel that they need to use him. So does that mean he's going to see Van Jefferson snaps? No, I don't think so. But will he take away some Calvin Austin snaps? I think he will, because he's probably in his first professional game a better blocker than Calvin Austin III. So you put him out there, see what he can do. I'm excited for it. I hope he does get to play. Other than that, like you said, Dave, the Russell Wilson calf injury continues to linger. So we're looking at Justin Fields for a third week. I don't think that's really a story anymore. So we'll see what that has to do. But let's go to the other side. Let's talk about the Chargers and what they had on Thursday. Dave, you have that ready?
Yes, I do. For the Chargers, yes, this was interesting. Outside linebacker Joey Bosa, he was limited on Thursday, which was the second straight day, but he says he's playing. Linebacker Junior Colson did not practice for the second straight day with the hamstring. Outside linebacker Bud Dupree did not practice for the second straight day due to illness. I have a feeling if he gets over his illness, he'll be available. I haven't even seen if he's played for them the first two games. I just haven't noticed. Is that Alohi Gilman, the safety? He was limited with the knee the last 2 days. Justin Herbert upgraded to limited on Thursday after not practicing Wednesday. He's got a big old wrap on his ankle. We'll see what they do. Hayden Hurst was limited both days with an ankle. Khalil Mack was limited Wednesday, but played on Thursday. That was rest. Wide receiver Josh Palmer with an elbow and calf. He didn't practice either day. And last but not least, defensive back Jasir Taylor didn't practice Wednesday with a fibula, but he was limited on Thursday. What did they do?
I know. It's the fact that they label it a fibula. Like
Yes.
it's a bone in the body. Like, what is wrong with the bone? Is it a bone bruise? Is it a stress fracture? Is it a compound fracture? We'll be talking like Jason Kendall. It's sticking out of the sock back in the 90s. You know, if you're a Pirate fan, you know what I'm talking about. Like, what is it with the fibula? Like, I've never seen a bone labeled like, oh, well, it's a femur. Like, yes, I do have a femur. Thank you for acknowledging that I have this bone in my body.
So it's not calf. Is that them saying, to me, that sounds like they're saying, okay, maybe it's a shin bruise, but they don't want to say shin bruise because they don't want to say it's muscular because that would be calf, right?
Unless I don't know, like unless he has shin splints or something.
Yes, but I've seen shin listed on there before. So fibula is
this is all fun for me. Like, this is new. I love how these PR departments put these stuff together. The Steelers always mess it up. Their cut race component, but these other teams, like, it's hysterical.
It's better than hockey and the Penguins. They have a lower body injury.
Lower body, upper body. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, hockey, they've
got an upper body, right, to start the season. Is that what that was? Yeah.
Hockey's just lazy. Like lower body, upper body.
So,
hey, that's why people don't gamble on it as much, because there's not as much specificity. That this guy's got a lower body injury. He'll be out for 60 days. 60 days? What the hell happened? Like, I don't know. It's just the lower body. It's from is that chest, waist? Like, where is that? Where does that start? I don't know.
You could have a stubbed toe. You could have you could have a dislocated hip. You know,
exactly. All right. Anyways, Justin Herbert's the biggest name on this list.
Yeah,
and not practicing Wednesday, limited on Thursday. What was really interesting, and I always do this every single week on Fridays this year of my Let's Ride podcast, is my Behind Enemy Lines segment where I have someone that covers the opposition on my podcast. Well, this week I had Jamie Hoyle, who does the Lightning Round podcast for our Fans First Sports Network Chargers crew. He talked about how they've been using Herbert as in like running, like a read option running system. And I'm like, well, shoot, if he has an ankle injury, they're not doing that. Like, that's not going to be an option. So that does limit what they want to do. And with Greg Roman's style, that doesn't mean they're not going to be able to run the ball. But also, is he going to be a sitting duck? If he drops back to pass in an obvious passing situation, is this going to be more Kirk Cousins than Bo Nix in terms of he can't move? And so therefore, let's go get him. Or are they just going to shoot it up and he'll be fine? Bryan, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, Jeff, I listened to the that show, but that show's not out yet. But I listened to the show on the Lightning Round on Fans First Sports Network, and I was really interested when you first started asking about Justin Herbert. He said, "Oh, he was just taken out for a concussion, and he came back in." So they were kind of downplaying it there. But now that I'm hearing more of this, maybe it's a little cloak and dagger what the problem is with him. But the bottom line to it is the Steelers are, for the first time in a long time, do not have to go all out blitz. You don't have to batten on the hatches and send everybody, because you have time, because your defensive backs, that secondary is giving you so much time right now. And then you can get them on the back end and sack them because nobody's open.
Yeah. Dave, thoughts on Herbert?
Well, I see what you mean about shoot it up, see what he can do, shoot it up and get it at halftime in order to do those kind of things, because he has been running more. He actually has been, that's what they're doing. And if you think about it, that's what John Harbaugh was doing in college. That's what Greg Roman was doing with the
Ravens.
Putrid purple team. That's what I'm looking for. That's just east of us here. So that's not surprising. But here's the thing that I see with Justin Herbert. If he can play his regular game, that's fine. If his running element is out of it, that does change what the Steelers have to, what all they can focus on. That does change things. Now, let's say he can't go because he can't do that running element and it's not him in there. That actually changes the threat of the passing element, which they have not used all that much this season through 2 games as well. Trust me. You can even see the stuff on social media. Chargers fans, Chargers media, they're talking about, they turned Justin Herbert into a boring quarterback. They're not happy how the Chargers are 2-0 either right now, which kind of sounds familiar. Not saying everybody, but there's a portion of the fan base, although there's not much fan base left, especially in their city, that's still Chargers fans. So to me, I think it's going to impact the game one way or the other, because let's say they don't go with Herbert because maybe Stedman can then is more of a threat passing and is more mobile, but he's not the same threat passing as Justin Herbert. But so it's really are they looking, do they want him to be more of that passing threat or more of that running threat? Or he could be fine and it's all a moot point.
I think he's going to play. Like, I'm never suggesting they're going to hold him out. But Bryan, what do you want to say?
I've been around Jeff Hartman for a long, long time, 9 years now, and I know what will make him smile. But this is a valid point that I'm going to go ahead and make. The Harbaughs, as coaches, with their scruples, they're Coach Kilmer from Varsity Blues. Shoot him up. And that's exactly what I see. I mean, the difference is, like, if they had a defensive back with sickle cell disease going to Denver, they would risk it. Mike Tomlin doesn't, and that's just one of those things that I see here. There is no regard, because the player is going to say, "I can go, coach. I can go, coach." Russell Wilson's saying, "I can go, coach," and Mike Tomlin's saying, "No, you can't." Ryan Clark, "I can go, coach." No, you'll die. So there's a big difference here. I have been outspoken. I don't care if you're on the putrid purple team. I don't care if you're cheating in college and winning national championships and then leaving and getting them stripped. I don't care who they are, what you are. They have that family of coaches. They do not have scruples. they're winning coaches, but I could see them saying, Justin, just go win for your team. Team needs you. Team needs you, son. Shoot them up. Virgil or whatever the name was in Varsity Blues.
Kilmer's Coyotes. You're poisoning my team, son. You're poisoning my team. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about some key matchups, but for those on the audio side, we have a couple ads you need to hear from our very special sponsors. For those watching live, we'll be right back. All right, we are back. Thank you all for being patient. Let's get to some super chats that have been patiently waiting. Let's get to $10. Ken, I think it's Cruz, or I hope that said that correctly. I apologize if I didn't.
I like Cruz.
Yeah, okay.
Or Cruz.
Kruis, $10.
Is it one syllable or two syllables? That's the question.
It could be Cruz,
That's
or
what I
it could
said.
be
It
crazy
Cruz.
and be Crease.
Either way, Ken says, appreciate you fellas and the entire SEN crew. LFG Steelers. If you know what that means. We appreciate you, Ken. Thank you very much for the tip, and thank you for checking us out. Hopefully you're checking out all of our content across all platforms like steelcurtainnetwork.com as well. And then we have Nick Gabriel. He says, $2. Read my heart to heart in the chat. LOL. Heart to heart. What are you doing? Stealing my shtick?
Yeah.
What the heck? No, I'm just kidding.
You know,
What
Kevin
did you
Hart
say?
has a show called Heart to Heart on Netflix
oh.
now. I was so mad when I saw it. I think you should sue Kevin Hart.
I'd probably lose that one. I don't know if I can go back that far right now. Did anyone see
I
it?
got it, but it's
Okay.
like 3 really long ones. That's the problem.
Okay,
So I don't know if it's $2 worthy. There's the first one.
Okay, Nick says, my random heart-to-heart for the week. NFL fined Derek Carr for doing a Michael Jackson dance move. Juju gave birth on the field. Rodgers did the Key and Peele double pump, but a dance move from an icon musician isn't okay. No flag was thrown during the game, so someone went back 3 to 4 days later and decided we can't allow such an atrocity. I guarantee not a single person watching the game was. Like, how dare he do something better with your time, like fixing the refs and stop ruining celebrations. Hashtag let us thrust. There you go. I don't even know what you're talking about, Nick.
No freaking clue what he's talking about. So
sorry. Yeah, I'm not up on the Saints celebrations, but okay.
yes.
But no, I thank him because that's my new hashtag, let bad thrust.
It says let us thrust, not let bad thrust.
Yes, well, I'm changing to let bad thrust.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sure that'll catch on.
Yeah,
All right.
yes. for all those posts you put out there on X.
I put a lot of posts on X now.
A lot of Raiders fans follow you now. Yeah, exactly.
You know what?
Got a huge Raiders following.
Silver and black. All right, here we go. We're moving on, talking about things to watch, whether this is a matchup, a specific player. We could go in a lot of different avenues with this one. Dave, what exactly are you looking forward to seeing here in this upcoming game?
What was that? Sorry. What I'm looking forward to this game. This
could be anything.
is, I mean, my goodness, these are the 2 lowest scoring defenses in the NFL through 2 weeks. The Steelers are only giving up an average of 8 points per game, and the only team that's better than that is the Chargers at 6.5 points a game. They're the only 2 defensives that have only surrendered 1 touchdown in 2 games. Everybody else has been more. So it's going to be very interesting to see both how the Steelers defense goes up against that really potent running offense of the Chargers, with the Steelers doing a very good job defending the run through 2 weeks, and also how the Chargers are going to do defending the Steelers. I'm sure Steelers fans are not as nearly as much saying, oh yeah, like we're going to win that matchup. It's the question is, how much can the Chargers swing that matchup in their favor?
Yeah, that's a great one because I think something's going to give. We'll get to that when we get to prediction time, but I think something's going to give. Brian, what about you? What are you looking forward to seeing?
Dave, since I'm not speaking to Jeff, could you tell Jeff that I'm looking at seeing the both teams actually have an opportunity, despite how good their defenses are, have an opportunity to break out here. It takes one field stretching pass play to break this game open and change the defenses for both sides. So I'm really looking at George Pickens here. I'm looking at him saying that he has one stretcher-Rooney in the first or second quarter, then it's game on, because now you're not just stacking the box on J.K. Dobbins, on Najee Harris, just like the Steelers will be trying to do whatever they can do to stop Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But I don't think that the Chargers have the downfield passing threat that the Steelers do. I really actually like the Steelers receivers and tight ends as well in this.
I have a question.
Sure.
Who does Joey Porter follow?
I asked that to Jamie Hoyle on my show for tomorrow, and he said that the Chargers, they really don't have that number one receiver. He brought up the guy that missed practice with what is it, ankle? We have Palmer. Lad McConkey's on the team, but he's a slot guy. I would imagine Joey Porter's just going to wipe out half the field. So in other words, anyone that's on his side, Herbert's not even going to look there if they choose to throw. So they don't have that.
Quentin could break out, but you have D-Jack on the other side that can cover one of those guys too.
And I think too, I look at the flip side of it, and I asked him who's going to cover George Pickens, and they don't have an AJ Terrell. They don't have a Pat Surtain. So there are matchups on the outside here that I think people aren't really focusing on. But I just can't get over. I love what Cam Hayward said. I think he spoke either today or yesterday. And he said, look, you're not going to be practicing dime much this week. There's going to be a lot of big bodies on the field. I mean, this has, to me, that vibe of a Ravens-Steelers game from a fact that you knew when Greg Roman was the OC in Baltimore, you knew what they were bringing. They're going to run it, and they're going to run it, and then they're going to run it some more until you prove that you can stop it. And historically, the Steelers have done that. They've been able to do it. And I've said this all week. If there's a team that knows how to slow down this running attack to the point where you do have to throw it eventually, I think it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so you have to ask yourselves, do they have the personnel all the way across the front seven to match up with this running attack that's averaging like 190 yards per game through 2 games? It's incredible.
Oh, it's like, I think it's, hold on.
They're not even first though, Dave. They're second behind Green Bay.
They're second behind Green Bay because that's what happened when they had to have Malik Willis start. But no, they're actually not even second. They're third.
Yeah. They're third
rushing yards per game. You'll never guess who's second.
Is it
the Carolina Panthers?
The Panthers are second.
199.5. This is according to NFL Pro that you get with your premium NFL Plus subscription, where they have all the stats and everything. Through 2 games, they have the Panthers at 199.5 yards rushing. And then, oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm looking at defensive, what they're giving up. Wow. That would have been, I don't know how it ended up with defense.
I didn't think Carolina was,
that's terrible. That's terrible. And I thought the Chargers were third. No, the Chargers are second behind Green Bay. Yeah. 197.5. I was going to say that doesn't make any sense. That's how much you're talking about giving up on the run.
The Panthers have 148 rushing yards total.
Yeah, I was going to say they're towards the bottom.
The Panthers are bad.
If you guys listen to it on Pittsburgh Standard Time today, one of the cool stats I brought up was percentage of pass plays. Teams that are passing a high percent of the time are a bunch of 0-2 teams outside of the Raiders, who are 1-1, who had to come back from a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter. And all the teams that are throwing it the least amount, it's not the Steelers. It's the Saints that are throwing it even less than the Steelers because they're putting
running it down their pit there. Yeah.
I was going to say they're putting up points, but yeah.
All right. Dave, what else? Is there anything else you're looking forward to seeing?
Looking forward to seeing, there was something else I was going to say, and now I'm trying to remember what it was. I know it was the Joey Porter, who he's going to guard. I mean, my goodness, I'm just curious, how many possessions is each team going to get in this game? I'm just saying, Jeff, you might only be partway. They might not have even said I do by the time this game is going to be over. I'm just afraid the clock's never going to stop, except after a punt. So it'll be interesting to see how the Steelers tackles hold up to the edge rushers of the Chargers, or if the Steelers are going to kind of scheme something to do their best to slow them down.
All right, Bryan, what else?
What else am I looking for in this game?
Yes.
Well, definitely I'm looking at a front seven for the Chargers that they've got two superstars, Boza and Mack. But if Boza's beat up a little bit, I know he'll play. But if he's beat up a little bit, that's one thing. Mack is on the older side. He keeps on going. But this defense is not scary. Even though they have not let a lot of they have not put up a lot of points. I'm looking at the opponents here. And really, the Raiders and the Carolina Panthers on offense, and especially running the ball, like you both said, you talked about both those teams not running well. I don't really see this being the defensive game that everybody thinks it's going to be. So I'm looking for how the Steelers can open up holes on their side to let Najee run and let let a repaired and rehabilitated Jalen Warren. That number 30 still is screwing me up here. And even an old Cordero Patterson, I think you're going to have one of the best rushing outputs of the day for the Steelers, even though this is a good defense.
For me, and
I'll just say, in case you're wondering where it is, the Chargers rank 6th best in the NFL in defending the run. But then again, they've been leading in their game, so the team hasn't been that they've been facing as much running. That is right behind 5th place, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or technically,
being a diehard Raiders fan, they can't run.
Yeah, gotcha.
There you go, Jeff.
Yeah,
there you go. Your true colors are shining through now. Yeah. All right, now I'll just say this: I'm excited for one specific matchup. I want to see TJ Watt versus Joe Alt, the starting right tackle, first-round draft pick out of Notre Dame. He's done a great job against Max Crosby in week 1. Not so much to have to cover. I think it was Jadeveon Clowney in week 2. That's not really saying much. But this is TJ Watt. And I spoke to our Chargers representative, and he was kind of very confident that he thinks Joe Alt's going to do just fine. I said, listen, you might see TJ Watt in the first quarter, second quarter. If they can get Justin Herbert in obvious passing downs, he's going to set something up for the second half. He always does it. It's like he's going to push on, he's going to try to run the arc, or maybe he's trying to try being physical. And then right when Joe Alt thinks, I know exactly what he's going to do, then he has that counter move, and that's when he rips the quarterback's head off, figuratively. So I'm hoping to see this matchup, and I really want to see TJ Watt do some damage on the rookie, give him a baptism by fire into the National Football League. But all right, anything else, gentlemen, or are we ready to take a break and then move on with the show?
I'm ready to get pummeled on under over.
All right. They're not the best color men in the league for nothing, folks. When we come back after a word from our sponsors, we are going to be doing over under. We're going to be talking about some memories with Steelers, Chargers, our predictions, and of course, trivia. We'll be right back after this break. All right, we're back. Welcome back. And it's time for some over under. I want to remind everyone, in case, because I say this on my Let's Ride podcast, but I realize there might be people that watch on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and they don't listen to our audio only podcast. Well, first, you're missing out on shows like Bad Language, the Here We Go the Steelers show with Bryan and Coach KT Smith, Dave's Pittsburgh Standard Time, which ran this morning, and my Let's Ride on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. And so I said this there. Dave even mentioned it on Pittsburgh Standard Time this morning that I'm not going to be on the post-game show this weekend. I for the first time in I don't even know how many years, I'm not going to get to watch the game live. So if you all like to read my tweets during the game, if you don't, that's fine. Nothing's going to change. I'm not going to be tweeting. I'm literally going to turn my phone off. Like, it's not like I'm just going to put it in airplane mode or silence it. No, I'm not risking it. It's off. I'm going to power that thing off. I'm going to come home after this wedding. I'm going to watch the game. And when the game's done, I will turn the phone on. But they're going to cover Bryan, Dave. I don't know if they'll get someone else to join them for the post-game show. And then I'll be back for Let's Ride on my winners and losers on Monday. But I want to make sure I make that announcement. But also, speaking of Twitter, tomorrow, Friday, Dave and I are going to be going to Western Maryland. Actually, it's West Virginia.
We going through Western Maryland all the way to West Virginia.
for a freaking golf scramble. This ought to be good. It's me, Dave, Big Bro, and Kyle. Hashtag
Little
pay
bro.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Little bro. So
Go 2.0.
I've never met Rich. I've never met Kyle. I will probably live tweet the scramble. I'll probably get some videos. So check out the Twitter feed tomorrow. We tee off at 1:30, right, Dave?
That's when we're scheduled to tee off.
All right, bring your A game. That's all I got to say.
I mean, well, you're going to have to give him the one. The 10th hole in this course is fantastic. You
Elevation,
are up
bro.
on a hill overlooking a lake. You can, I mean, you will honestly, you can't even really see the green. It's so far down the hill that it's that steep, but you're just overlooking the lake and seeing everything. It's really beautiful, but also quite an interesting one to play.
Hey, Jeff, besides Dave and I, have you met anybody else on the team?
No.
Face to face?
Nope. Never have.
There you go. I
So
know
this will be a
Dave
first.
Dave's met Big Bro.
Yeah, I met Big Bro. Brian's met Big Bro. We both met Tony.
Oh, yeah, it's Tony. Forgot about Tony.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm excited. We'll see what it's like. Dave and I came in second in a 9-hole scramble. This was a couple weeks ago. And so we got to up our game.
I went back and did the math, Jeff. I did 5 of the shots. All the rest of them were yours.
Your back was probably hurting.
Including the tap ends.
Your back was probably hurting from carrying me around the course. So,
yeah,
all right.
Right.
All right, let's get ready for this. Let's do some over-under. Dave, you want to update the scores?
Yes, updating the scores. Now, I have streamlined this process and given this its own devoted section in my notebook to now have better records and better access to our over-under each week. So along with that is we've been doing what we call just our regular over-under, which is the categories that Jeff comes up with. There's been 6 each the first 2 weeks. You can change that up, Jeff. You can go to 5, you can go to 7 or 8.
We're going 6.
I have it all recorded here. But we're also seeing how we do as a separate category in picking against the spread and the over-under for the game itself. But we're not combining that with the ones that Jeff does. So last week, it was another victory for one Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman with 3 correct answers.
Nice.
3 out of 6. I was 2 out of 6, and Bryan hitting the over on every single one. Only worked out one time for him. Now, when it came to actually picking the game, the spread and the over-under for the second straight week, we all picked it correctly against the spread, but I was the only one that hit the over-under by taking the under. So overall for the season, Jeff leads with 8 points against Bryan and I each with 4. So combined, it would have to take us to get to Jeff. When it comes to the game scores, I'm in the lead with 4, while Jeff and Bryan are both at 2. So you all would have to combine to reach my score.
All right.
But Jeff's in the lead for the one that counts the most.
All right. So here we go. 6 more for the week 3 game against the Chargers. Are you ready, Dave? Ready?
Oh, I am ready.
All right. We're going to start off with Los Angeles Chargers total team rushing yards. And you're going to say, Jeff, this line is really low, but trust me, I think I have a good feel for this. I'm going to set it at 112.5. 112.5. What about Brian? What about you, Brian?
Jeff, I'm going to commend you. That is a fantastic line. You always have great lines. And I'm going to say that as I was humbled in a big way last week by saying that you always have good lines, but that was one of your worst ones ever. And you hit it, and I didn't get. Oh man, I'm just gonna never speak like that again. I'm never going to.
It's okay.
You again.
That was last week. That was the Boswell field goals, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was praying for another field goal. I was just like, tack one on, guys. I gotta go over. I really think that they're going to stop the Chargers offense, but I think the best part of the Chargers is going to be the running game, and they're not gonna stymie them completely. JK is gonna get his yards, and I'm not JK. I'm not just kidding. I'm just saying he's gonna get his yards, but keeping him out of the end zone's the big thing. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's got to be over more than 112.
All right, Dave.
I'm also going to take the over, but not by much. To me, if the Steelers take this offense and they hold the Chargers offense to 120 yards rushing, that's a win.
Yeah.
in my opinion. So I'm going to say they can still do a nice job and yet go over this mark a little bit. But that was a very excellent line, I have to admit.
I'm actually going under. I think if Herbert was healthy, they might get some extra yards from him. I don't think if he plays, which I do think he will, that he's gonna be running the ball. And I think like Dante Jackson has shown me a lot in his willingness to tackle. Deshaun Elliott's willingness to tackle. You need second, and of course, Minka is a phenomenal tackler. You need secondary members who aren't afraid to get physical. The Joey Porter Jr. I'm going to reserve judgment, but still, I'm going to take the under. I actually am. All right, let's go to the next one. Pittsburgh Steelers team passing yards. I've got this at 175.5. Bryan, over under.
I have to ask a question before you do this. You said it was 175.5?
Yes.
So that's team passing yards, which means we are subtracting off any yardage and sacks, which is how you do team passing yards.
Team passing yards.
Just verifying that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, so I said earlier in the show that I think Pickens is going to find a way to have that long one, to have that big one. And if he does, I think it's going to open up a lot for the Steelers. I think you're also going to have to see the Steelers execute a little bit more on the screen game with Jaylen Warren back. I think that he has the possibility to pick up a good 30 to 40 himself. Maybe Najee gets 20 in there. So I really think that you might see a 200-yard passing game from Justin Fields in this game. If it is indeed Justin Fields, and come on, we know it is. So yeah, I've got to do disclaimer, Dave. But so yeah, I know I'm the king of over. I'm the king of wishful thinking, I guess, but here we go again, over.
Dave?
I'm actually going to take the under on this one. I think that Fields will throw for more than 100 than this number, but I think the sacks will bring them back down.
I'm going over. I think the Steelers, even as a team, even with sacks, I think this is a game where I have believed that they're going to actually come out throwing the football. And maybe it's to the detriment, but that's what I think. Let's go to the next one. Pittsburgh Steelers total touchdowns. I've got the line at 1.5. Bryan, what are you thinking?
Can you say that again? Pittsburgh Steelers
touchdowns.
Team touchdowns. Okay, I thought you said rushing.
1.5. 1.5.
Yeah, we need an over here. They've got to get 2 this week.
Dave?
Over.
I got to think about what I'm doing for my score and make sure everything lines up. And based on the score, I'm going to have to take the under.
Oh, oof. I'm going over. All right. I asked this last week. I'm going to ask it again. Pittsburgh Steelers turnovers. I've got the line set at half. So, Bryan?
I think this is the week they get 1, but I'm going to take the over here, but it's only going to be 1.
All right, Dave?
I'm going to say over as well.
Okay.
Three games to start the season, not just being 3-0, winning the game would be phenomenal, but to have 3 games without any turnovers, that would be really, really good. They can do it. I'm just not 100% sure that they will. It's a wow. Why did I suddenly forget the fancy word for the shape of a football? It's oblong for a reason. It can bounce anyway. So
I'm going under. 3 games in a row. Here we go. All right, next one. Pittsburgh Steelers takeaways. Now, the Chargers have not turned it over a bunch, but the Steelers have taken it away a bunch. I've got the line at 1.5. Bryan, what do you think?
I'm going to go with the under here. I think that party is going to slow down a little bit against a team that does not get rattled. Justin Herbert does not get rattled, and I think these running backs can hold on to the ball well. Your biggest chance here is with drawing the ball loose from one of those receivers with trying to get some extra yak.
All right, Dave?
This is one of those that our partner DraftKings would probably not even have that you could even bet on because of not knowing the status of Justin Herbert. This is really difficult to know because it changes so much to even bet on this. I'm actually going to take the under because I think it's going to be harder to get interceptions or even strip sacks because I think they're just going to face a fewer number of passing plays.
I'm going to go under, but I think they do get one.
Yeah.
I think they do get one. All right, let's go to the last one. Chris Boswell field goals. The line is set at 1.5. Bryan, over under.
I'm going to go over here. I think at home, Boswell gets his. I don't think it's hard to get 2 on this, but that's a very good line, Jeff.
Dave.
Well, last week it was 2.5. This week it's 1.5. Therefore, I am also going to take the over on this one.
I am too. I think they get 2. So that leads us right into our predictions for the game. Let's give you our DraftKings odds right now. The Steelers are currently giving 1.5 to the LA Chargers at home. So that means the book is telling you they're not even getting the standard 3-point spread at home. If you want the money line, the Steelers are minus 120 versus the Chargers plus 100 on the money line. The over-under is set at 36. The over-under is set at old Jerome Bettis. So, Bryan, what's your prediction for the game?
Did it change in the last half hour?
I don't know. That's when I looked it up. You can check.
Yeah, it did.
What is it now?
To 36. You're right. I had it written down from earlier where it was 36.5.
All right, Bryan, what's your score?
I think that the Steelers are going to win with a walk-off Boz field goal and win this game 26-24.
Ooh, so a little bit higher scoring than most people are thinking. I like that. Dave, what about you?
Okay, so that's the over. This one could be ugly offensively for both teams, and it's really going to come down to who can run the ball more. I think an issue is if you're a team that's trying to catch up at the end, you're going to be a little bit more susceptible to turning the ball over. If the Steelers are trailing and they're trying to get back in it, I'd love to see them try to push the envelope a little bit on offense. And I think it's going to take them having to come back at the end of a game in order for them to do that more at this stage of the season. Not that it's ever, but in the month of September, they're really only going to push it if they have to, because it's more important to hold on to the football. I think the same thing could be said of the Chargers. If they're having to try to come from behind, I think that gives the Steelers the advantage of being able to try to take it away. I see this game coming down to a field goal game in more ways than one, but the difference is going to be the field goal. And ultimately, I went with don't hate the player, hate the game. 12-9 Chargers.
Ugh. Okay. Well, shockingly,
you guys need to catch up when it comes to picking the over, under, and the spread. So I'm going to give you that opportunity.
So the Steelers, obviously, I'm going to pick the Steelers. That's a shock. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game, but I'm not going to go where Bryan went. Bryan's, both teams in the 20s. I see the Steelers winning this game 20-17. And so I think that there's going to be a little
barely over.
That is barely over. That means that it's a good line. So I 20-17. I just think the Steelers are going to be able to put some stuff together. I think the offense is going to open it up a little bit more. Spoke about the advantages the Steelers have on the outside on the offense. And so I think Justin Fields is going to hopefully prove that he's capable of being the everyday starter, even when Russell Wilson's healthy. So I have 20-17. Steelers win.
I'm way more confident in the over-under than I am against the spread. I think it's going to be a good, close, tight, low-scoring game. I'm just not sure which team's going to pull it out. And, I don't think the Steelers are going to go 17-0. And I think looking at this stage of the schedule through the first quarter, that this is their most difficult task.
Yeah. So, all right. So Bryan used to do, or always does, trivia, but instead we talked before we hit record about what if we just talked about some memories of this team that they're playing. And so just kind of like a trip down memory lane, so to speak. And so, Bryan, since this is your segment, I'll let you start off. What do you think of when you think of Steelers Chargers?
Man, there's so many games here, and I can go back to the 80s with some games here. I could go back 40 years to 1984 when they blew out the Chargers, but I've got to go to a game that I was at.
Go Chargers, go.
And it was that game. You knew it. You knew it. It was October 10th, 2005, Monday Night Football. and the Steelers went in to play Drew Brees, I believe, was the quarterback at the time. Before you can't quote me on that, but I believe it was Brees. Yeah, it was Brees, and they had Antonio Gates, and it was the first time. I know a lot of you who are diehards, you've heard me tell this story, but it was the first time in 9 years that the Chargers hosted Monday Night Football. They were supposed to do it 2 years before in 2003, but mudslides in California forced them to go ahead and move that game against the Cardinals. So they had lost that home game. They had a chance to do it. The governor, like Jeff said, was in the house. There were probably about 70% Steeler fans, and a young PR rep for the Chargers came out, and they were giving out washcloths sponsored by Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, actually, that said 100% chance of lightning. And I still have my washcloth. And this woman comes out, and this was back in the "Are you ready for some football" days. And so she wanted to prep the crowd, and they had a drill sergeant, because that's a big military area there. And he came out and he said, "Are you ready?" And so she was explaining that to us. And then we were supposed to repeat something and wave our white towels. So when Sergeant Mike does that, you're going to go ahead and wave your white towels. That's all that crowd needed to hear. So the "Here We Go Steeler" chant started, and all these gold towels back and forth like crazy. And she said, "No, guys, come on, we're in San Diego." And then you think that could shut up Steeler fans? It got worse. So I'm watching the game back, and here you go. Al Michaels has started it off, and all you could hear is the chant, and you can see those towels everywhere. This is also the game where I got yelled at because for some reason in San Diego, and I wasn't a fat guy then, I wasn't that big, and for some reason I wasn't allowed to take my shirt off. He was like, "Shirt on." But somebody from the camera crew, she spotted me and she pointed at me, and I had eye black and Antoine Randall white jersey, and I had this goofy helmet hat on, and so I started cheering, and that's the one that got me on that national commercial for the NFL because of that moment. But going back to the game, Ben gets hurt. The Steelers are losing in the final seconds. James Harrison, he picks up a fumble, blasts LaDainian Tomlinson, picks up a fumble, jumps over Tomlinson, that big leaping play that they have captured on picture. But Skippy Reed, Jeff Reed, in the end, a walk-off field goal, just like I predicted this week. I should have went with a score 24-22 because that was the final score then. But it was just a beautiful night, Monday Night Football, and I left there walking on air. And then turn around, that's a Super Bowl year. First time in 26 years. So I'll never forget that game. There's others we can talk about. I know I took a long time on that segment, but I got to paint the picture of how special that game is in my life.
All right, Dave, what about you?
Well, you mean just talking about Chargers game, or am I supposed to actually do some trivia or what?
No, anything that you remember about the Chargers, just to be real quick.
The biggest memory I have about the Chargers is that awful AFC Championship game. So we don't even want to talk about that. So I do remember the game. Yeah, I do remember the game that Bryan's talking about. And one thing I haven't been able to, I can't remember, and I can't even find where they say it even on the play-by-play. But with less than 5 minutes to go, the Chargers took the lead in that game on a LaDainian Tomlinson touchdown, but they went for two and didn't get it, which allowed the Steelers to kick the field goal for the win and not for the tie. Do you remember what happened on that conversion? I don't. That's why I was asking if you remembered by being there.
No, I don't actually. That has completely escaped me, but I will go to my source of watching those games, and I will find, because now I'm curious.
Yeah. So, because that's when sometimes, man, you always think that field goal really comes down to it, but sometimes it's that 1-2-point conversion play. I mean, Steelers fans know that just from a couple of years ago with the whole the other Wang Harbs trying to go for two to win the game, and TJ Watt totally disrupting the play and winning the game by them not. But that was a, convert and they win, don't convert and they lose. This was you want to go for 2 to make it a 3-point game, and they couldn't do it. And that's why that's how the Steelers won. But I will ask this. How many times, and this isn't my trivia because I have something else if we're still going to do that or not. How many times did the Steelers play the Los Angeles Chargers?
Oh, because they were LA Chargers back in the 70s.
No, 1 year in the 60s, 1960.
Well,
Dave.
The Chargers. I'm sorry, the Chargers. I keep on thinking of the Rams. I don't know why I was thinking of the Rams.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Rams. No, the Chargers.
No, they started in the AFL, but they never played each other.
Is this the third time they've played them?
This will be the fourth.
Oh, okay.
Because it started 2018. That 30-33 loss in Pittsburgh. That's the infamous Keenan Allen, John Bostic one.
Oh gosh,
and then the Steelers won with Duck in LA, and then they lost in LA in 2021.
They had a massive comeback in that game, and
that was that 37-41 game where it's another one of those times where it's like, hey, they scored over 30 points and they lost. The Steelers have a lot of over 30 but lose that, versus the over 30 and win. But I had to look that up because I couldn't remember how long they've been in LA. So,
all right. Well, let's go to trivia. Dave, are you ready?
Yeah, I have some other trivia because the Pittsburgh Steelers are attempting to go 3-0 to start the season. If they are able to, how many times will that be under Coach Mike Tomlin of going 3-0? In other words, how many times have they already started the season 3-0 under Mike Tomlin?
I'm gonna guess that I'm gonna say just randomly, like I'm gonna do the Price is Right $1. That he's only done it one other time.
I know. I will tell you this. Of course, he did it that one time in when they went 11-0, so 2020.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I would actually go ahead and say that 2007, his rookie season, that they went 3-0 to start. But I know they did not do it in 2008, the Super Bowl year, because week 3 was a bad week for them because they lost to the Eagles. 2010, another Super Bowl year, but not a championship. They went 3-0 there because if I'm not mistaken, they played Atlanta, Tennessee, and Tampa. And then the fourth game, they should have went 4-0. And because Charlie Batch started that game, and Michael Orr was offsides a long time, and then Hushman Zada had the winning touchdown, they would have been 4-0 in 2010. So I'm going to say 07, 10, and 20.
And that would be correct. There's been 3 times. If they could do it in 2024, that would make 4 times.
Really? I got
How
it?
many times? What's that? Yeah, you not only did you get the right number, you got the right years.
Oh,
so
wow.
there you go. So now the question is, how many times did Bill Cowher start 3-0? Or the Steelers under Bill Cowher?
Well, I will tell you this, 1992, Cowher's first year, in week 3, it was against the San Diego Chargers in San Diego to go 3-0. So if I ruin your trivia, I apologize, but they did it for the first time then. I know 92 was definitely
How could you ruin the trivia when I asked you the question?
Yeah,
go for it.
Well, I didn't know whether that was going to be your next one.
Yeah. Okay.
I know they did it once after the Super Bowl season 2005.
Jeff, you got a shot?
Nah, I'm going to go 2.
Jeff?
Oh,
Jeff.
94, they went 3-0.
You need to take a shot, Jeff.
I'm going to guess once. He's only done it once.
Man, Jeff gets it this time. He's only done it once. That was at 92. You were correct, Brian, but it was just 92 because in 94 they went 2-1. I don't know. I don't have the specific games in front of me.
I do. They had the Cowboys in week 1 on national TV and they got crushed.
Of course, I have to finish it off. How many times did under Chuck Noll did they start off 3-0?
I have no clue.
Just rather than break it down like Bryan, you can just take a shot in the dark with the number.
Once.
Jeff going once.
Definitely 1978. I'll just say 1978. They did it, and I'm going to say that's it.
Okay. Coach, if the Steelers win on Sunday, that would mean Coach Tomlin would tie Coach Knoll for the number of times starting 3-0. Chuck Knoll did it 4 times, 73. Bryan is correct with 78. They also did it again the next year in 79. Yeah. And even though it was weeks 1, 2, and 12, they did it in 1982.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good.
Because yes, they went from September to they had to wait till November to get their 3rd win of the season to start 3-0 because of the strike. But that's it. And the only other time the Steelers have ever started 3-0 outside of those 3 coaches was they did it in 1936 with Coach Joe Bach, B-A-C-H. They started 3-0, but unfortunately they finished the season 6-6 and did not make the postseason.
Technically that was the Pirates, but who's quibbling?
Well, the franchise.
All right, good stuff. Let's do some quick final thoughts. Bryan, you're up.
Week 3 has been good for the Steelers. This is going to be their first test. And I got to tell you, I'm not expecting a win here, but my gut is feeling something. And my gut is feeling something special out of this team. I really think that Justin Fields, I think management and the coaching staff is happy with Justin Fields. I think the fans are going to be a lot more happy with Justin Fields. I go back to what ended up being a magical, weird 9-7 season. I go back to 1989, and that was a really weird year. But they lost those first 2 games 42-10, and I mean 51-0 and 41-10. So it was a total of 92-10. And they had a team that was in the NFC Championship the week before. The Minnesota Vikings come to town, and they were huge favorites. And the Steelers just played Steeler football and dismantled them. And I know the Chargers are not huge favorites here, but anybody's going to go ahead and take this offense over Steelers offense. And I understand it. But I really feel that this is a game maker, the season maker for Justin Fields, and I think he never looks back.
All right, Dave, final thoughts.
Yeah, this one is a tricky one this week, especially with you don't know about the quarterback situation for sure from the Chargers, which I almost said San Diego there, but I've been doing a really good job not saying that. This is a game that if the Steelers don't manage to win this game, it's not that the sky is falling. This is not that they are facing a bad opponent. This is a team that right now the odds makers are saying if they were playing on a neutral field, the Steelers would not be favored to win. They're playing a quality opponent that they're trying to establish themselves in their style of play as well. So that's why I really think this is a toss-up game. I just decided to play the heel this week in taking the Chargers. But man, I still believe that the Steelers can go out there and they could win this game. And honestly, I think they could run up the score. It's possible, but we've got to see them actually do this. There's you can see glimpses of where things could get to that point with the Steelers, but are they at that point? That's the big question. September has not been the kindest month for the Steelers under head coach Mike Tomlin. So to have them continue to roll through it, it would be huge if they could do so. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to our golf outing tomorrow. I'm looking forward to having to cover, unfortunately for Jeff, on Sunday as he has to take this game in and hopefully an abridged version. So then we can finally get him talking to us about it when he's able to watch it. But as for me, I'm just going to be excited to be on my couch again at 1:00 when God intended NFL football to be played, to be able to watch my Steelers.
I just want to bring something to people's attention. We have 2 new designs at our store coming out for our t-shirts, sweatshirts, whatever. You can see that scrolling across the bottom of your screen. If you're listening in audio, it's scnstore.itemorder.com. We have one that just says Eat, Sleep, Football, Repeat with the SCN logo there. And then I was really sick and tired of even hearing some of our hosts butcher our first round draft picks name from 2024. So I did a shirt with the phonetic pronunciation of Troy Fautanu's last name. I like the shirt. I think it's pretty cool. Those should be live Friday. So if you want to check it out, check it out. If you don't know how to find it, check out my Twitter handle. The pinned tweet has a link. Go there, get yourself some new swag, or if they win, be a part of the Victory Monday. There you go. All right, folks, it's been another good Steelers preview. Make sure you check these guys out on the post-game show. Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
See you next week. Take it easy.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.